to 1 product launches. Okay. And so without any further ado, let's just dive in. So today we are going to talk about how you can launch a 0 to 1 product, especially in the B2C side of the business. Okay. And we are going to discuss it in the particular context of an events marketplace that I helped build when I was working for Swiggy Dine Out. Okay. So we are going to take you through all the journeys right from the first one, which is like as I'll just talk to you. Sorry, there is okay. Yeah, sorry about that. Okay, so first of all, we'll just quickly take you through the agenda today. So we'll start with the very top, which is the product vision, and product vision will then help us understand what will be the objectives and key results area that we would want to focus on. Okay, once we have the vision and the objectives in place, we will then move on to what we call problem discovery, and this is one of the key areas wherein we'll be focusing a lot as product managers, because this is an area where product managers actually has the highest contribution. So problem discovery, and after we come out of problem discovery, we want to have enough insights and enough strategic problems that we will identify to inspire our product strategy. Okay. And once we have the strategic pillars identified, we will then move on to what we call the roadmap that will help us determine the key milestones that will help us build the MVP. And once we have the roadmap all locked down, we will then move on to what we call the solution discovery, that wherein we will explore potential solutions to the problems that we have identified earlier. And once we have those solutions in place, we will then move into what we call product development. And then there will be multiple stages within product development. And once we have the MVP in place, we will finally discuss how can we go live with that through GTM strategies. And finally, when we are going to launch the product and everything is out there in the hands of your end users, we will then see how we can use different analytics tools to do continuous performance monitoring, and that in turn will help us determine the iterations for the future iterations for the product. Okay, so with that out of the way, uh, let's first dive into what we call the product vision. Okay, so product vision is something normally you have at the company level. Okay, and that is where it all starts at, in the sense that it's a vision that your company wants to bring into the universe. So it's a future state that you would want to be in. So in our case, when we talk about Swiggy Dine Out, what we wanted to be was a platform of choice for all the people who love to go out to eat or to enjoy, right? So anyone who's looking to dine out or for any sort of entertainment outside their home. So we wanted to be their default choice of platform that they would come to explore the opportunities or explore the options available. So that was the product vision. And that vision then inspired us to go and look in for other alternatives. I mean, we started with as a restaurant discovery platform. Then we moved into a restaurant reservation platform. Then we also introduced a dine out payments product, which could be used for making payments at restaurants. And keeping this vision in mind, we then went ahead and also acquired an events management company called Stepping Out, and as a new source of business. And this particular business then led to the creation of another team, which is the events team that I was heading. And and from this vision that we had, we then had the objective, which is for our particular team, which is to enable the recently acquired Stepping Out sister concern, and of course our existing restaurant partners, to effectively list, sell, and manage events on Swiggy Dine Out. So the vision helped inspire the objective, which in our case was to build a platform or to facilitate our sister concern and our existing restaurant partners to manage their events end to end. So stepping out was into launching events. Similarly, every restaurateur has some or the other event happening in their restaurants on a weekly basis or on weekends. So the mandate or the objective was to build a platform for this for our partners so that they could manage and earn additional revenue by selling events. Okay, so that was our objective, and the or the matrix that would help us understand whether or not we have achieved our objective, where, of course, the GMV from ticket sales and the total number of tickets that were sold and user engagement. Because, like I mentioned, that our platform also had other modules like a reservation module, a payments module. So our one key objective or key area that we want to focus was having more and more engagement on our platform, and so that we could take advantage of what we call the flywheel effect. So events was another funnel that was supposed to play into the flywheel that we have, that eventually will attract more and more users to our platform, and that in turn will also drive the other modules that we had. So user engagement, the amount or the percentage of user engagement that we were able to increase via the events module was another key success matrix that we wanted, that we were expected to drive. Okay, so moving on, problem discovery. So before we jump into problem discovery, Gunja, I believe, has a quick poll for you. So Gunja, if you don't mind, let me just launch the, yeah. So we would love to understand what you believe is the more or the biggest challenge when it comes to problem discovery during product development. So I am assuming here that most of us are into product, or either into product or maybe aspiring to move into product. So from that perspective, we just want to understand what you believe is or will be the biggest challenge when it comes to problem discovery. So we would love it if it's more of a dialogue than a monologue, because then it will be more interesting for all of us, and we will also be able to learn from each other's experiences. So I would want you all to participate actively, and feel free to also ask me questions at any point of time. And I would more than love to take up your questions. So majorly we have responses. We just have 3 more people who hasn't responded. So far, data analysis is the winner, but we have 3 more people. Uh, okay. So, and also we have, okay, user survey as well. Mhm. Do we want to close the poll? Okay. So let's just share the results. Okay. So as you can see, majority of us believe user survey is a big challenge during problem discovery. And the next biggest challenge happens to be data analysis and stakeholder engagement. Few of us think so. Research and competitive analysis, you believe, are the easy ones. Okay, fair enough. So with that out of the way, let's just move into problems. Okay. So when we went into problem discovery, we were under the impression that we only had one set of target customers to talk about, which were, like I mentioned earlier, which was also part of our objective, our sister concerns stepping out and our restaurant partners. So our expectation was that it will be more of a B2B platform that we want to build, that will help our partners to do end-to-end events management, right from creation, management, selling, ticket sales, and everything, right? But then when we actually got down into problem discovery is when we realized that the most important set of problems, or the most important target users that we need to build for is actually event goers like you and me, people who would be coming onto our onto our applications for discovery of events, shortlisting of events, and finally purchasing those events. So, uh, so what started out as a B2B initiative actually turned out to be more of a B2 or a D2C initiative, and that is when we realized that events goers is something that we will have to focus more as compared to our uh, B2B partners. And second, of course, the original targets, which was the B2B partners, like our restaurant partners, as well as our sister concern. So for the purpose of today's discussion, we will focus only on the D2C or the end users, the event goers like you and me, because otherwise it will be beyond the scope of this 1 hour discussion. And we will definitely be maybe picking up the other side, the B2B side of the discussions sometime in the near future. Okay. So two different distinct set of problems, one pertaining to the event users and the other pertaining to, of course, the suppliers or the B2B partners with whom we had liaison for showcasing the events or selling those events. Okay. Now, coming to the first important thing of problem discovery is, of course, data analysis. I mean, the more you do, the less is what I would say with regards to data analysis, because uh, there is so many things that you get to understand when you deep go deep inside the data. For us, we were lucky that Stepping Out was an independent brand before we acquired it. So we had a lot of data related to events that they have been organizing all throughout. So we knew the average ticket prices. So we knew the demographics and the psychographic profile of the users who were purchasing these event tickets. We knew what time of the day or day of the week events were purchased more. What were the kind of events that were more popular? Was it music events, or was it comedy shows, or was it other kind of events that were more popular? So we had a treasure trove of data when it came to events, and that really helped us make more informed decisions as we move forward. And not only that, when it comes to data, we not only looked at the direct data related to events, we also mined, or we also explored or analyzed the data that we had for our other modules, like the restaurant discovery module, the dine out payments module. So uh, uh, we analyzed those data as well to get a better hang of the users that were coming onto our platform, in terms of what were their behavior, what were their pain points, what inspired them, what we were doing that was going well, and what was the activities, or what were the missing areas or pain points that these users were facing. So we also analyze those data to get a more informed uh, idea about the users. And for this, we used Power BI majorly, and also the good old Excel is something that we use for data analysis. Okay, and when after we had a good hang of the data, we then went on to the next phase, or what we call the stakeholder engagement. So here, the objective of this is to understand the business perspective, because end of the day, we are here to build solutions that not only caters to the problem of the end user, but also those solutions that we were proposing, or those problems that we were targeting, should be something that makes sense for the business as well. So the business stakeholders' perspectives and their vision is therefore very important. And in this activity, we engage with the head of business for events, and we try to understand the business from his perspective. What were the pain problems he has been solving all throughout? What are the kind of users he believes buys events? And in terms of what's the future that he sees for this platform. Because if I talk about the time period that we are talking about here, this was in the middle of the pandemic. So we wanted to understand his view as to how he sees the economy opening up, and whether or not he sees that events as a platform will be a significant enough source of revenue moving forward. So I believe there's a question. Gaganjit, you want to ask something?
So, Ruturaj, I just wanted to check if you are sharing screen, so it's not visible.
Is it?
Yes.
Okay. Let me just reshare in that case. Is it visible now?
Yes, now it's visible.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. Cool. So you were able to see the other earlier, right? Like I guess it just
No, no, we were not. I was not able.
okay. Okay. Fair enough. Uh, so yeah, so like I was saying, stakeholder engagement was important because we wanted to understand the business perspective. We wanted to understand what was the thought process, or what were the uh, problems that our business stakeholders were able to identify, whether it's the head of business for events, as well as the sales POCs, marketing POCs, who were working in the event space. So we took their perspective to understand better the end-to-end events marketplace. After that, of course, we also did a lot of secondary research to understand the overall market dynamics when it comes to events, and also to understand what all are the you can say overarching uh, phenomenon that were going to impact events. Because like I said, this was in the middle of the pandemic that we had started building this. So we wanted to make sure that whatever we are building will make sense, because at that time at least people were not at all open to going out of their homes. They were not comfortable in close proximity with other people. So those were risks that we are taking. But at the same time, the research that we did gave us confidence, because we could understand, or we realized that uh, because of the pandemic, and because of the fact that people were locked inside their home for such a long time, uh, people were frustrated and people wanted a change. And there is something known as a concept called revenge spending. And because of that, we were fairly confident that when you're going to be ready with this platform, we will have enough users who would be there to buy our event tickets, or who would be attending the events that we were organizing. So that was I would say uh, something that helped us, like that gave us confidence that whatever we are building will eventually be profitable as well. So for research specifically, we used Google, of course, and also Gen AI tools like ChatGPT helps us do a lot of secondary research on the event space. Okay. Now, coming to competition analysis, again, a very important aspect of problem discovery, because we wanted to understand what are the strengths, the weaknesses of our competition. And not only that, we also wanted to understand what is it that they were doing right, and what is it that they were not doing right, because those were our opportunities, and those were the areas where we could make a difference. And we played around with their platforms. We tried to understand what are the basic functionalities that they were providing, because that also will determine the bare minimum MVP that we were going to build, because we do not want to ship something that was so basic and so bare that people would not even consider coming onto our platform. So competition analysis, direct competition analysis, that way is very important, because that kind of gives you a fair assessment of the minimum viable product that you need to build to make sure you are at least in the consideration set of your users. And not only that, I would like to mention here we not only need to focus on the immediate or the direct competition, but we also need to focus on what we call the extended competition. So in our case, if you talk about the event user, so we were not only trying with a lot of other players for the money of our users, but we were also fighting for a very rare commodity, which is time. So anything and everything that was taking that time of our users was our competition. So when we extended this, so any OTA player like Netflix or Amazon Prime, those were also our competition. At the same time, our sister modules like the dining out platform, the reservation platform, those were also our competition, because end of the day, a user can choose to either go and attend an event, or he can go and choose to watch a movie or a series. So from that perspective, the competition was not only with the direct competitors like a Book My Show or a Paytm Insider that were selling event tickets, but also with this extended competition. So we extended or broadened our horizons and did analysis of this extended competition as well. So understand what were the functionalities, features that they were also offering, or what were the strengths and weaknesses of these platforms, and what was it that they were doing right that was getting them users to uh, come and spend time on those platforms. Okay. And last but definitely not the least is user surveys. We also definitely spoke to our end users, people who have in the past purchased tickets from us, from stepping out as a brand. So we tap those users and we send them surveys, and we also did one-to-one user interviews with some of these users who were more engaged, and people also who were not that engaged, to get a fair assessment of what we are doing right and what is it that we can improve. So we sent out surveys and we analyzed those first-hand data to understand better of our users and users, the problems that they were facing, and the challenges that they had, and of course the expectations that they have whenever they come on to any platform like ours or our competition. Okay, so I'll take a pause here. Any question anyone has so far? Okay. If there are no questions, either I'm doing a fine job or I'm not. So I'll just go with the former. And now moving on to the next part. So when we did problem discovery, that took, I would say, if we talk about it in terms of percentage, 60% of our product manager's time should be invested in problem discovery, because the more time you spend, the more clarity you're going to get, and will that will help you in your future journey. And once you have that hold on that problem to the best extent possible, everything else then falls into place. So when we did all those research, when we did all those number crunching, we did all those competition analysis, market analysis, we spoke to all those business stakeholders. When we came out of that phase, we had few very clear visions in our mind. The first being the personas of our users. We knew to a great extent the kind of people who were coming on to the competition platform for buying event tickets, or the kind of people who have been buying tickets from us when stepping out was existing as an independent brand. So we knew those user personas. And another main objective of problem discovery was to identify the key insights or the key problem statements that will then determine the future stages that will eventually take us closer to the product vision that we had in the very beginning. Okay? So the user personas that we identified, first of all, was that of a family man. And we, from our data, showed that he was someone who was 30 plus, and usually was earning around 30,000 per month. And normally, this persona attends 1 to 2 events on a quarterly basis, and majorly they purchase more than one tickets. So they rarely purchase a single ticket. They normally purchase more than one tickets. And the kind of events that this persona normally attended was more into family oriented event. Okay. The second persona that we identified was that of the corporate hotshot. And this persona was a slightly younger persona. And this persona basically was from 25 years and above, and the income was around 25,000 per month. And this user persona majorly attended 1 to 2 events on a monthly basis. So this was a more engaged user. And if we talk about his purchase behavior, they normally used to purchase either single tickets or even they used to go in for multiple tickets. Okay. And the kind of events that they were more interested in was comedy and music events. So those were the genres of events that this persona was more interested in. The third persona that we were able to identify was that of the college guy. Okay. And this persona was the youngest of the three personas that we had. And this persona was 18 plus. And we did not have enough data around the income for this persona. And this was one of the highest engaged personas. And they used to attend 1 to 2 free events monthly. And majorly they used to buy single tickets only. And especially they were one of the highest consumers of our free events that we had. Uh, uh, and if we talk about the genre of events, they were the ones that were experimenting the most, and they were open to trying out all sorts of events. So uh, so this were like kind of the early adopters of events. So with that in place, the first insight that we were able to shortlist or able to identify was that mobile is the platform of choice. So one thing was for sure that all these personas that we talked about, the family man, the corporate hotshot, or the college guys, all of them were doing event discovery, event shortlisting, sharing of events, everything they were doing, or even event purchase, they were doing it on their mobile phones. So mobile was something that was the platform of choice for all of our user personas. So that was a key insight that we identified, and it was all across iOS, Android, and even M site. So that was one of the key insights. And the second insight that we had was around discovery of events. So discovery of events was one of the highest pay, or the single most important pain point for our user personas all across. And events discovery related to notifications, contextual notifications, in the sense that how they are notified whenever a new event is up and live. Okay. So that was an important area, or there were a lot of problems around that. Second was availability on social media. So they wanted those events to be easily and readily available whenever they were on social media platforms. And of course, for ease of discovery, they wanted events home, or something where they could come and do events discovery without any problem. Okay. So that's where some of the key insights that we were able to glean from all the efforts and time that we had spent in problem discovery. Okay. Now, with the personas in place and the key insights in place, we now then moved on to the next phase, which is identifying the strategic pillars. Okay, great. We have a couple questions.
Hi, this is Nitin here. I just wanted to understand when we did this user persona, the data that we collected, how did we actually collect, the data? Because when you talked about for 18-year-old, we did not have the financial details. For 30 plus, we did have the financial details, right? So is that a hypothetical analysis, or, we had some other methodology to do that? How did we collect that data?
So that's a great question, Nitin. So it's a mix of both. Okay, user personas are not only based on what we call actual data, but also fictional assumptions as well. Okay. So like I mentioned earlier, we had a bunch of data that we had from our stepping out event organizations that we have been doing. So when we acquired the company, we also had access to their data, and so that inspired, or that gave us the required information about the kind of users who were purchasing this. And this also included data that we received from the third party platforms wherein Stepping Out was selling their event tickets. At the same time, I mentioned that we also analyzed our existing platform, right? Our our restaurant discovery platform, our restaurant reservation platform. So we also had data around the kind of people or the kind of users who were coming onto our other platforms. So from all this, and from our direct user surveys that we carried out, the user research that we did. So from all this, the hardcore data, the user research, and of course, like I said, slight amount of course, hypothecations as well. We build these user personas. And like I mentioned, again, the user personas are not something set in stone. As we move forward, definitely you always go back and update your user personas basis more data that you are able to get as we move forward. Does it make
Okay.
sense?
Yes, just to add, I just wanted to understand, the company was acquired and we had the data, possibly is that the company that we acquired, the data was there in the database only. You mentioned about Power BI and utilizing Excel. So in this particular process, whatever data that we require, who gets involved into this particular situation? Because as a product manager, am I supposed to know the Power BI tools, the Tableau to be done, or do I need to fetch the data myself, or is there somebody else who would do that job for me and then I would analyze?
See, there's no straightforward answer to that question, because it really depends on your particular company. In the sense that if your company has that manpower in terms of data analyst, okay, or for user research, if you have a dedicated UXR team, then you are supposed to accompany, or you are supposed to coordinate with these different functions in getting the data, getting those data analytics in place. Otherwise, if you're working for a startup, right, uh, you as a product manager will have to drive all of them. That of course will help you learn a lot, but then it can be also very, very overwhelming, because like I said, in more established organizations, you have dedicated data teams, you have dedicated UXR teams that does each part of this analysis from their side, and the product manager simply or takes an active participation, but then they don't drive it. So I hope that answers your question.
Yes, sure. Thank you.
If there are no more questions, so we'll move on to the first strategic pillar. So, like I said, basis the data that we were able to analyze, the research that we have done, and the insights that we identified, the first strategic pillar, of course, was that we were going to be mobile native or mobile first. And out of and not when it comes to mobile, we were going to target all the three platforms, which is iOS, Android, and MWeb. So we were going to build a events platform that targets all the three platforms. Okay. The second strategic pillar was that we will have a independent or a separate events homepage. Uh, and this is something that we are going to build on top of our existing applications instead of introducing a new event specific application. So we wanted to go the super app way, wherein on top of our existing dine out applications that we have for restaurant discovery, payments, and for reservations, we also wanted to dare build a separate events home. And again, like I mentioned, this will be on all our platforms, whether it's iOS, Android, and PWA. Okay. And the final strategic pillar that we had was that we wanted to really, really make it easy to purchase an event, whether it's a paid event or a free event. We wanted to really optimize that process. And because we also had a payments product called Dine Out Pay, so we wanted to leverage that as well, wherein users who had what we call Dine Out Pay points, we wanted people to be able to leverage those points that they have been acquiring all along by dining out. We wanted that to also power our events purchase, so that we could take advantage of cross function advantages and cross platform advantages, basically. So we wanted that entire purchase journey to be inspired and optimized basis whatever we have already achieved in our other modules. So that was another strategic pillar that we identified, and that will then now determine what's coming next, which is the product roadmap. So if I take a quick pause and think back to the journey so far. So we started our journey with the product vision, which was more at a company level. And from that product vision, we had our business objectives that was more related or more in touch with my particular module, which was the events team. So once we had the vision, the objectives in place, we then entered into what we call product discovery, or what we call problem discovery. And there we spend a good amount of time doing different kind of analysis, whether it's data analysis, market analysis, competition analysis. So we did all of our homework, and from there, when we emerged, we had a better hold of our user personas, the users who were coming on to purchasing events, like stepping out events, or who were purchasing events from our competition. Okay. And we also were able to identify certain key insights that then inspired, or that determine the strategic pillars that we were going to focus on, that will eventually help us take us one step closer to our end product vision. So the roadmap that we built out of all this that we have done so far was that we will have an events homepage. Again, this will be only for Android and iOS to start with, because we wanted to launch it quickly. Like I said, we wanted to take advantage of the opening up of the economy at the time. So we wanted to be ready with our platform by the time people were looking for opportunities to go out and let down their hair and have a good time. So we wanted to be ready for that. So we decided that because we had the maximum traffic on Android and iOS applications, so we wanted to make sure that we at least had the homepage or events homepage ready for our Android and iOS apps. So that was the first or important milestone on the roadmap. The second important milestone was definitely the events detail page that will give our users more idea as to what the event is all about, what are the prices and other collaterals related to the event, so that they could take a more informed decision as to whether or not they want to go and attend this event. Finally, like I mentioned earlier, we wanted the ticket purchasing journey to be highly optimized and as easy as possible, so that once someone has made up their mind to attend an event, the purchase journey should be quick enough to kind of easily let them do that. And finally, once the tickets have been purchased, we then focus on what will be the post-purchase journey in terms of how we are going to showcase those purchase events on the existing profile of the user, and also how can we notify our users at the right time so that they remember that they have an event to attend. And finally, because we knew that what we were building is just an MVP, so event analytics was something which is very important for us, because this is something that will inspire, or that will determine the future iterations that we were going to bring into the platform. So event analytics is something that we baked into the whole roadmap, and we wanted to be ready with our data points, or we wanted to be able to collect the required or important data points from day one itself. So event analytics again was a milestone on our roadmap. Okay. Okay. So now moving on to the next or major important phase in our journey, which is the solution discovery. Now, before we dive into this, Gunja, you have something for our audience?
Yes. 1 minute.
So again, we would like to take a quick poll as to what you believe is the most critical during the solution discovery phase. Okay, we have 50% participation. You can quickly give your opinion. We can then move on. Okay. Is the result visible? Okay, so we see that majority of us believe that product requirement document is one of the most critical aspect of solution discovery. And after that, designs and prototypes, prototype testing, stakeholder sign-offs, we believe are the other most critical aspects. And strangely, no one believes technical assessment is an important aspect of solution discovery. Okay, fair enough. Uh, so yes, PRD definitely is an important aspect of solution discovery, and this is something that we as product have a majority contribution in. And but having said that, one thing is very important is that PRD is not something that only the product manager drives. Whatever research we have done up till now, whatever interactions we have had, right from the business stakeholders, our users, our market research, competition analysis, or even our interactions with our product designer and our engineering counterparts, all of those together inspire or determine the contents of the PRD, whether it's talking about the overall context as to why we are doing what we are doing, in the sense of why are we building an events marketplace in the first place, despite being in the middle of the pandemic, why we believe that this is an important problem to solve, and why we believe that this is a next big source of revenue for our company. So we had to make sure our developers, our product designers, and everyone else in the company understood why we were focusing in a business that did not seem to be correct at that point of time when we're in the middle of the pandemic. Okay, and the business and user problems that we were targeting, because there can be 1,001 problems, okay, but then of users, but we as product managers are not, or we cannot be focusing on all of them. So we need to identify that 2, 3, 4 major problems that we want to prioritize first. At the same time, these problems that we want to prioritize should also be something that makes business sense, in the sense that these problems will be something for which, if we provide a right solution, people will be more than willing to pay for those solutions. And in that case, our business will be also be something that it will make sense from a business perspective, because it will help us earn revenue. Okay. And for the different user personas we identified, what are the different use cases? Because every persona will have certain use cases that are very specific to that certain persona, and that may not be so critical for other personas. So you identifying the use cases for the different personas we had identified, and finally, what will be the proposed solution that we are proposing for the problems that we have identified, and the acceptance criteria for those solutions that we are proposing. And most important is clearly listing out what are the in-scope functionalities and features we're going to launch for the MVP, and what are the out-of-scope or quick follows, or even features that we will be maybe tackling in the near future. In scope is something that will that is important for your business stakeholders, for your marketing teams, your sales team, and other teams in your company, and even your external audiences. So it's very important to list them down clearly, because tomorrow you do not want to be in a situation wherein your business stakeholder was expecting something and you ended up building something which was not in line with their expectations. And in that case, that would not be a very ideal situation to be in. So clearly calling out the in scope and out of scope functionalities is something which is very, very important. Once we have the PRD well drafted and covering all aspects, we can then talk about design and prototypes. This is something which the design department, or the product designer owns. But at the same time, as product managers, we can also work on the low fidelity or the first mockups using tools like Balsamic and even Figma. And those definitely helps in visualizing the solutions you're proposing, because we as human beings easily able to understand when we are presented with more visual cues as compared to written text. So if you're able to also use this mock-up tools to create a low fidelity mock-ups of the sort proposed solution, those definitely always helps. But otherwise, for the high fidelity design, definitely it's the product designer who's going to take the lead on that. And once the high fidelity mockups are created, you can use a tool like Marvel for building a prototype, an interactive prototype that you can then take to your design, to your engineering team, your business stakeholders, and even when you're going to do user research, this prototype is going to play a very important role. So once you have the PRD in place, you have the high fidelity designs in place, and you have the prototype in place, then we definitely go and approach our engineering counterparts. And here we will basically be trying to understand from them the technical feasibility of the solutions that we are proposing, whether or not the technical infrastructure that we have, the technology that we have in place, the skill sets of the engineers that we have in place, whether or not the solutions that we are proposing can be supported by our existing technology and our skill sets. At the same time, we also wanted to understand at a very, very high level the amount of time that will be required in building out the solutions that we are proposing. So one important thing I would like to call out here is that even though this is the first time we are talking about specifically about the engineering team's involvement in this entire journey, uh, it is not the first time that they will be playing an important role. In fact, right from the day one, when we decided to build something in the event space, from that day onwards, we involve the engineering team along with the product designer, so that they get an early heads up as to what is coming. At the same time, to help build what we call shared understanding, and we made sure that we involve the design and the technical team in the different aspects of the process up till now. So this is something what we call the trifecta concept, wherein design, product, and engineering together comes together to identify the problems, and of course also on solutioning the right solutions for these problems. So design, engineering are your equal partners, and it's very, very important to have them uh, 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 have them involved in the process as early as possible. So once we have that technical feasibility done, and we have a fair idea about what time it will take for building out the solutions, we then went and reapproached our users that we had tapped into earlier when we were doing problem discovery. So we went back to them with the solutions, and we let them play around with the prototype and to understand the usability aspects, whether or not the solutions we are proposing make sense to the user. Was it intuitive enough for them to understand how to go about discovering the events, how to go about and checking the details of the events, purchasing the events. So if it made sense to them, at the same time, we also wanted to check the valuability of the solution we are proposing, whether or not it was valuable enough for our users to come to our platform and eventually buy a ticket as well. So this risk to risk usability and value is something what we try to check when we were doing prototype testing. And basis the feedback that we got from our user testing and making those changes and updating our designs and our PRD accordingly, we finally were ready to take sign off from our business stakeholders. So the head of events eventually had to sign off on the final MVP that we were going to build. And at the same time, we also approach our legal teams to make sure that the solution that we're proposing was something again legally viable and also was within the business constraints. And this is again a very important step, because you do not want to build something that tomorrow you will not be able to launch, because it's not viable for the business to enter into that market, or it's not legally possible for you to sell that in the market. So checking that with your stakeholders is again a very, very important concept here. Okay. Now, once we had everything in place, so then we finally moved into what we call product development. Okay. The first stage of product development is, again, because you have already done the majority of the task, you have the PRD, the designs, the prototype, everything in place. So now, taking all those collaterals, we go into backlog grooming. Again, this is something that the product manager drives, and you basically talk them through the different user stories that you have created in Jira and in Confluence, and then take up all the questions that your engineers has. And once they are ready with their understanding, then we try and build a solution in 2 week long sprints. So the sprints can be of different durations. For us, it was 2 week long, and once we in this 2 week long sprints, we built the solutions that we were proposing, and whatever was ready was QA'd by the QC team, and whatever could be demoed, whatever was a module in itself. So the engineering team also gave us demos of this solution that they built, so that it was easier for us to also visualize the solutions that we were proposing. And once we were done with the demos and everything, and we had the MVP ready, we went into user acceptance testing, wherein myself and the designer did all the testings to make sure whatever was built uh, was in line with the solutions that we had proposed earlier. At the same time, it also addressed the problems that we had identified in the very beginning. And once we were confident and we were happy with the MVP that we had in place, we finally then again approached our stakeholders to take their sign off that yes, we can now finally release it to our users. So we have the stakeholder sign-offs in place, and then finally we go into what we call the go-to-market strategy that will eventually determine how that product that we have spent so much time building and analyzing and optimizing gets in the hands of the users. So the go-to-market strategy is something that involves almost the entire company. So normally we say that it takes a village to take a product to market, and that cannot be further away from the truth. I mean, if we talk about go to market, it involved not only the marketing team, the growth teams, the sales team, the operation team, the content team, the customer experience team, the CX team, everyone. So legal team, finance team. So every team in the company was involved in making sure we are able to launch our events marketplace into the market, and this involved a lot of juggling around, and you as the product manager has a very important role to play, because you will have to coordinate and collaborate with all of these different functions to make sure you have a picture perfect launch. So after all those cross-functional collaborations, you are finally ready to roll out. And because you don't want blue screens to be seen everywhere all across, so we wanted to go in for a targeted wave rollout. And we wanted first to try out in Delhi, because that was one of our core markets. At the same time, we had the maximum availability in terms of manpower and other resources in Delhi. So and we were more confident of our Delhi market. So we targeted only Delhi to start with the events marketplace, and we shortlisted Delhi as the first market we wanted to release our events marketplace. And at the same time, we also this is again something majorly the marketing team drives, wherein they determine how they want to promote the events marketplace, whether it's SMS campaigns, WhatsApp promotions, email campaigns, social media campaign, or even what you call outdoor marketing. So marketing team basically drives how they can familiarize and how they can promote the product that you build. And this is something wherein the product manager only provides collaterals in terms of idea about the product that you have built, the features and functionalities, but otherwise majorly it is something that the marketing team will drive. Then comes the core operational aspect of it, because the events marketplace is only as good as the events that's listed on that platform. So for this, we had to coordinate with the sales team and the content and operations team to make sure the sales team goes and sources those events from the restaurant partners. And make sure that Stepping Out also has enough events in Delhi planned for our launch, and at the same time making sure those events that we had sourced or that we were planning, those goes up on our platform as listings. So for that, we had to take help of the operations teams and the content team. So that again was a whole lot of what we call juggling around. And finally, we also had to make sure we train our customer support teams, because once we go live with the marketplace, we knew we'll have a lot of first-time users coming onto our platform, and even our existing users who have been using our platform for a long time will have a lot of questions, queries, and we wanted to make sure that the support team had the right answers. So training for the customer support team, making sure we had FAQ in place, the help documents in place was again something that the product manager normally is responsible for. And with all of that in place, finally, we launched the events marketplace with a bang in Delhi. And it was a success in the sense that, like I said, because we targeted it to coincide with the reopening of the market, so of the economy. So we got that initial boost from the revenge spending that we were expecting to take advantage of. So that turned out to be true, and we saw good traction in the initial days. And once we went live, we like I said, we already had the instrumentation in place. We had Google Analytics and Keep to let us get uh, deep down into how where the funnels performing, where are the users coming from, how what was the conversion for the different funnels that we had, whether people who were coming in from a social media advertisement, what was their conversion rate versus people who were coming onto our events platform from our sister concern, like from people who were coming in for reservations or restaurant discovery. When they are coming into the events platform, what are their conversion rates versus the SEO campaigns that we were running, SEM campaigns that we were running on Google, how were those conversions looking like? And also we did funnel analysis to understand where in the journey the users were getting stuck, where are the pages that had the high drop-offs, so that then we could optimize those pages, those flows. So Google Analytics and Heap was our partner in helping us do that. At the same time, we also used CleverTap for in app communications to skip uh, to uh, to target those users who dropped off in the journey, purchase journey, or people who have who were just browsing. So to kind of encourage them to consider purchasing tickets, so we use CleverTap for pushing them notification. And we also did a lot of A/B testing using Optimizely because we wanted to understand what performed better, whether it's the design of the CTA or the color of the CTA, something as simple as that to something more complex in terms of even playing around with different flows in the events discovery, shortlisting, and purchase journey. Finally, like I said, using all this data that we were collecting on a real-time basis and basis the experiments that we have been running, we iterated and optimized the existing flows that we had built so far. And that also determined our future milestones when it came to the product roadmap. So that brings us to the end of this. And thank you for your patience. And I'm happy to take up questions if you have any. I can see a couple of chats. Okay, I guess we have already taken up the questions in the chat, right, Punja?
Yes, almost. We have taken up those questions. There are
Great.
no questions.
Awesome.
Yes.
Great. So if there is no more questions, then I guess we can stop because we are also at time. Thank you, everyone, and have a pleasant weekend. Take care.
Before you leave, thank you so much, Rituraj, for such an insightful and engaging masterclass. The practical examples and real world applications you shared have shed new light for sure. I'd also like to thank our participants for their active engagement. We hope you found the session insightful and inspiring. If you have any feedback or questions, feel free to reach out. Our email and number are there in the chat box. If you have any suggestions of topics for which you want a masterclass, please let us know. We look forward to seeing you in future session. Thank you so much, Rituraj, for once again.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.